Hello again. I have returned. And yes, I am in the same shirt I was wearing in the last video. Thank you for noticing. I just sort of decided I have the scripts, so why don't I just record it in the same day? Because Christmassy red is exactly appropriate for what I am sure is now firmly in March. Don't know how into March we are, but we are firmly in it. So enjoy this red shirt forever. One day I'll learn how to do intros. So as promised last week, I have been watching so many movies to come to you with a discussion on the tropes of stalking in film, media, funnesses. There were so many films in this list. Compared to the 17 I watched for that list, I watched 31 for this list. That's more than 17, believe it or not. I also had them separated into two different categories, so I'm going to talk about one category today and one next week. Stalkers that are just plain scary ass stalkers, and then stalking for romance, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So these are the films and characters I looked at. This is a stereotype that people come across a lot about how characters seem like they are engaging in stalking behaviors to win over their love. And you know how much I love talking about fucked up tropes related to romance. There were only 9 films in this category. The reason being I didn't really want to like focus too much on side characters in movies. I really wanted it to be like a big focus of the film. 7 of the 9 stalkers in these films were male, where only 2 were female. Kind of creepy if you think about it. Don't worry, man, just keep stalking your lady, and that has 0 unfortunate implications there. Actually gonna spend all next week talking about those unfortunate implications, but not today. All of their reasonings were just that they were in love with them. Their target intrigued them. They were interesting. That's a good reason to scare the crap out of someone. You're interesting, let me follow you around. No. These people watch them from afar, they photograph them without their permission, follow them around. They repeatedly declare their love despite the rejection they get, which is a big reason why I want to talk about this, is that we as a society say, oh, love is beautiful, don't give up. Never give up on the girl you love. This is a very masculine trope, I think, where guys in movies a lot get rejected by women, but you just need to wear them down just a little bit. And if you wear them down enough, then they'll finally love you. And so we get these repeated declarations of love with women saying no, 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 and they still end up together. There's this weird concept of wearing people down that in real life has legitimately real consequences. I don't like it. I don't like it. Just in these movies alone. So Pete from It Should Happen to You meets a girl, moves into her building so he can be close to her. And she's totally cool with it, by the way. Barely bats an eye. She like sees him. He's like, hey, I live here now. And she's like, that's legit. Nope. Robbie from Crazy Stupid Love constantly harasses Jess and even is proud of it. At one point he has a literal line saying, and that's why I'm not going to stop sending Jessica messages that make her uncomfortable. He doesn't care that he's causing her literal discomfort. That is a problem. We need to it's fine. Edward Cullen. We all know the story. He's weirdly obsessed with Bella. He follows her around. He has these like mood swings, which is what Bella calls them. So like one day he'll come up to her and he's like, we shouldn't be friends. And then the next day he'll come up to her and he'll be like, hey, that's not how you treat a human. I don't just mean because you're a vampire, like you need to learn how to interact with humans. I just mean on like a personal level, it's mean. I watched Twilight for this list, guys. I have some feelings. Annie from Sleepless in Seattle hires a freaking private investigator to follow around a guy she's never even seen before because she thinks he was sweet on the radio. Oh my god. In all of these movies, only Jess in Crazy Stupid Love and Steve in All About Steve show any semblance of discomfort for what is going on around them, and even they, by the end of the movie, realize it was all out of love and they regret their actions and apologize. I mean, in fairness, Ramona Flowers does initially reject Scott Pilgrim, but when he does wear her down enough to go on a date, she immediately likes him. Similarly, Ashley in Disturbia gets really mad when she finds out that he's been photographing her. Justifiably, he was photographing her. Then when he gives this like corny romantic speech, she falls for him. I feel like there's this weird reward system. All of these characters are rewarded for their kind of objectively kind of creepy action. 5 of the 9 characters get the girl in the end, and the ones that don't, Robbie is rewarded, Mary is accepted by the community around her, and John Gage is seen as the bigger man for letting her go. Really strange how hounding women, you know, as long as something good comes out of it, as long as she starts liking you back, or you let her go, or something good happens around you, you are completely accepted as just a romantic. It's really worrying to me that that's how the media has gone. Like I said, it feels like a stereotype. It's not in that kind of format as prevalent as you think it is. What you get is a lot of people in films just doing something just kind of genuinely not great, and that's passed off as romance. And this doesn't just happen in film. Ghostbusters, Venkman wears Sigourney Weaver's character down until she finally falls in love with him at the end of the movie, which don't get me started on that. Big Bang Theory, there's a running joke about how Leonard wore Penny down and that's how they got together. I mean, you can think about 50 Shades, which only wasn't included on the list because it's a Twilight ripoff, thank God. But like, there's TV. Mr. Big weirdly follows Carrie around. His teenage counterpart Chuck Bass does the same to Blair. And think any movie where there's a grand romantic gesture. If someone you have repeatedly rejected comes to your house with a boombox, you're not necessarily going to respond well to that. That's why 500 Days of Summer is as interesting as it is, in the sense that it talks about a complete misreading of The Graduate, but there are so many people who completely misread 500 Days of Summer as well. This idea of portraying stalkerish behaviors as romantic become really, unfortunate. I've known people who have been followed around by guys who just think they're being romantic. It's not romantic. Don't follow people around. Just don't do it. One of the more troubling things about this, though, this idea of stalking for love, is that the majority of the time in these movies, the guy doing the stalking gets the girl really quickly. They get the girl in the first half of the film, and they spend the rest of the film being extremely jealous and possessive. And it's not just Edward Cullen, although, yeah, Edward Cullen. Terrible. Just terrible. He's Think about Robbie's reaction when he finds out that Jess has a crush on his dad. He gets angry at his father. He sees it as a betrayal by his father, completely ridding Jess of any blame. Robbie gets mad at his dad because his crush doesn't love him back. That's this weird, crazy, possessive, jealous shit, and then he goes on and gives this really petty graduation speech until his dad comes and tells him that love is great, and he gets rewarded with nude pictures at the end. That's how you start to believe in love again? And it's seen as like, oh, he's just a kid, it's fine, but it's clearly not fine. If you watch Jess's reactions throughout the film, it's clearly not fine. And It Should Happen to You, Pete's basically every action is calling Gladys dumb or shallow or really being hard on her lifestyle. Gets in the face of the guy who's trying to hit on her, which in fairness, she doesn't want that, but like he still gets in his face without knowing that Gladys doesn't want him. He keeps doing this and just being genuinely cruel to her until she realizes that he was right and that she was living a shallow lifestyle and goes and runs to him. He's just mad that he's not enough for her. Kale gets jealous when Ashley throws a party and he can't go. Scott calls Ramona a slut because of the 7 evil exes fight. Only Scott's of that list is considered a bad thing. That is his jerk moment. Even Kale gets away with it with his corny speech. All of the other characters, their jealousy is never addressed. It's just a part of their character and that's perfectly okay. Or it's the fault of someone else. There's only one character on this list I haven't mentioned yet, and that's Kyle Hadley from Written on the Wind. He is the only character whose jealousy is portrayed as a bad thing, whose stalking behaviors is seen as an uncomfortable thing. He gets the girl very, very quickly. She improves his life, and when his life starts to fall apart and he begins drinking again, his violent actions towards her and his friend are seen as terrible. And when he dies at the end, it's a tragedy because it was a life wasted, not a tragedy because he was a good man. He's the only character whose jealousy is never redeemed. That just seems strange that out of 9 films, only one of them considers extreme jealousy a bad thing. What does that say about women in relationships? What does that say about expectations of how women should be treated in relationships? This is a big reason why people think that Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey are so damaging, because it portrays a possessive and jealous relationship as something you should want, something good, and it's not. It's a hard position to be in, and I know I talked about my stalking story last week, but this is another area in which I have some experience. Being in a possessive relationship with extreme amounts of jealousy is not romantic. I even considered it romantic a couple of times. My first boyfriend was never jealous, so when my next boyfriend would get jealous, I thought, finally, someone who cares about me. How fucked up is that that's what I thought was love? That's not love. Luckily for me, I was able to realize that the way I was being treated and that jealousy was not okay, but some people don't realize it for a lot longer than it took me to figure it out. I implore you to be careful. I implore creators to stop this nonsense because it isn't okay. And you have to ask yourself before you write romances. This is for all the writers and creators out there. Before you write romantic characters, ask yourself, if someone came to you and started doing this this bullshit without you asking them, would you be okay with that? Would you see it as romantic? If you were to go to your partner right now and do that stuff without them asking them to do, how would they react? If the answer is not great, don't write it. And I understand that some people are different from other people, and I understand that this video just got real depressing real fast, but this is important. These relationships are dangerous. I talked in my Manic Pixie Dream Girl video that writing nuanced characters is the only way to get rid of the Manic Pixie Dream Girl, because we're writing from archetypes and we're not writing from real life. I know that that's the problem here. We see these grand romantic gestures and we say, well, Say Anything did it, so I can do something similar. But Say Anything isn't necessarily the pinnacle of a romantic movie. It might be to some people, but to other people that might be a super creepy thing he did at the end. You have to think about real life relationships, and you have to think about reality even in your fantasies, because people are impressionable. People think that kind of stuff is okay, and people start to believe that that is love. And I can tell you from experience that it sucks to be treated like that and being told that it's just love, because it's not love. If the entire world is being told that that shit is romantic, that could be really, really dangerous. 71% of stalking victims, according to a University of Gloucestershire study called Exploring the Relationships Between Stalking and Homicide, were previously in an intimate relationship with the person doing the stalking. We have to understand that this is not love, and portraying stalking as love can have dangerous real world consequences. That's that. I feel like I need to do more dancing to lighten the mood. Every single time I start these videos, I expect to start laughing and then end up giving like a PSA at the end. This is so weird. Oh frick, it's gonna rain. So thank you so much for watching that video. I really hope this is helpful. Tune in next week because we're gonna talk about actual stalking movies, not just romantic stalking movies. We've got way more films on the table, more to talk about. Next week will be my final stalking video, so if this isn't your thing, well, that's fine and dandy. You can come back the week after that. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. All of my social media is in the description box below. Bye.